Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's virtual LPS Learning Lunch series. Because we are virtual again today, if you have any questions during today's presentation, be sure to enter them into the Q&A if you're joining us on Zoom, or you can enter them on the chat if you're joining us via Facebook, and we'll try to get those questions answered during the presentation or after the presentation. The Lincoln Public Schools Sustainability Department promotes green efforts throughout the district and the community by implementing environmentally responsible practices in our schools and district buildings. They also provide educational opportunities for students and opportunities for our community to get involved in our schools. Here to tell us more about those sustainability programs that are supporting our green school initiatives in the areas of water, waste, energy, transportation, and air quality is Brittany Albin. Brittany?
All right, thank you, Mindy, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today to share more about our programs. Again, I'm Brittany Albin. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for Lincoln Public Schools, and I've been with LPS almost 8 years now. I do also have a teammate who could not be here today. She's out at a school helping in the cafeteria, but Mandy Badalik is our Assistant Sustainability Coordinator, who definitely I could not do all of our programs without her. So I just like to start off when I'm explaining sustainability in LPS by showing just what it is we're working on in terms of environmental impact. So we have many thousands of students, we have thousands of employees, just like any other large organization. We also have many buildings and facilities and grounds that we're managing. So we have 70 buildings, we have over 7 million square feet of space to manage on a day-to-day basis, all using resources each day, all having community members coming in and out each day. So we have a lot to manage, which also means we have a lot of opportunities to improve on sustainability. And when I explain what I do as sustainability coordinator, I like to start off kind of just giving that two-prong approach. Like Mindy was saying, we are a large organization, so helping us reduce our environmental impact and operate more sustainably, just like any other organization or company might that has facilities and staff. But we're not like any other organization. We are a K-12 public school district. So we have another great opportunity to help foster that environmental stewardship with students and with staff and with community. So how can we bridge those two together? And that's what I'm going to be sharing more about today, is how we combine facilities and our school campuses with people and sustainability engagement. And we were named a Green Ribbon School District in 2015 by the U.S. Department of Education. And I like to share this also because they have a nice simple framework for what does it mean to be a Green Ribbon School or a Green School District. And so they have 3 pillars that they focus on with this recognition. The first is reducing environmental impact again. So how do we reduce the amount of energy we're consuming, water we're consuming, waste we're generating? How do we bring that and all those costs down? But then there's other pillars for improving and continuing to be leaders, so leading in health and wellness, and that could be things from our environmental department, collecting air quality, making sure we have quality water in our schools, to also just engagement and activity with health and wellness as well with our students and our staff. Also improving and increasing sustainability literacy. So what are those connections to curriculum? What are those opportunities to be leaders in the community? So we've been recognized in these areas, but we still have plenty more we're doing and plenty that we've done since getting that recognition in 2015. We've passed a sustainability policy, so our School Board of Education did pass this in 2019, and I won't go into every word of the policy right now, but I like to just point out enhancing that district-wide culture of sustainability. So that's what we're really going for. Who's helping support this? How are we sharing that it's important? What are the different ways we can get involved? And with that policy came several strategies that we described, and this is really a starting off point. We still have a lot more we can do in many of these areas, but we also have a long history as a school district of sustainability in many of these areas too. So I'm going to get into some of them, but know that we're not covering the whole story today by any means. So waste is one that people commonly think of with our sustainability programs. I often get referred to as the recycling lady or the composting queen, which I'm not sure why that's royalty, but I'll take it. So we do recycle a lot in the school district. We have our standard recycling programs, which includes things like paper and cardboard and plastic and aluminum. But as an organization, we also have a lot of other things going on behind the scenes with recycling. So we have surplus books, we have wood pallets from our distribution center, we have electronics, we have all sorts of other materials as a business that we are recycling. And we do recycle over 1.2 million pounds of material on average each year. And we saw that these are 2020 numbers, I should point out. So we are still working on final reports for 2021 numbers. But we expect them to look similar, if not better, because as you'll recall, we were shut down for part of 2020, and we still recycled all of these materials. Another big part of our program that people might be familiar with is our composting efforts. So that's collecting those organic materials and keeping those out of the landfill by having them get composted instead. And this is most commonly seen in our cafeterias. And again, these are 2020 numbers. Now through 2021, we actually have 61 buildings that are collecting organic materials either in their cafeteria or, like here at the district office, they do that in staff kitchen areas. So they're collecting that organic material there. And again, even in 2020, we composted over 900,000 pounds of material. So that's material that could have gone to the landfill, but instead we composted it. But another thing that people might not see as much is how much we're reusing in the district as well. Again, as an organization, as a business, we try to reuse materials and be efficient and save costs. So we have a surplus system where we can share materials between schools. We also have an auction system. So if the district doesn't have a use for it anymore, someone in the community might want something. So we have some construction projects going on. There might be a cabinet that's getting replaced or updated. Someone might want that old cabinet if it can't be reused in that project, and we are happy to make sure those materials get reused and help with that. So with all of those materials getting recycled, composted, reused, we had a 54% diversion rate in 2020, and I expect it to be pretty similar in 2021, if not better. So that means we are keeping over half of our waste that we generate out of the landfill. But we are continuing to look forward and trying to do more. And this is just another breakdown of all of those different materials. I won't go line by any means, but I also just like to point out what else we're doing in terms of engagement and communication. So this is the waste management hierarchy. You can see recycling and composting is not at the top. That's not the first thing we want to do. We do want to be focusing on how do we reduce the amount of waste generated, how do we reuse materials. That's really where we can continue to make improvements. And we do seek out grant funding to support these initiatives. So we have been funded by the Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy, or NDEE, to support our waste reduction efforts. That includes things like signs for our compost programs in the cafeteria, waste sorting stations, helping us do whole school composting. So this is where we take it outside the cafeteria and start collecting things like paper towels and tissues and any other food scraps that might be throughout the building. So you can see one of those stations there, and getting that small landfill bin, and we do label it landfill because that's where it's going, and helping visually represent in our containers that we want to send less to the landfill and recycle and compost more. There's also engagement going on with construction waste management. So we have many different construction projects going on, from new buildings to small renovation projects, and our team helps support and working with the local contractors on those projects to make sure we recycle and reuse any materials we can. So that includes things like brick and concrete, wood, cardboard, metal, all of those materials we're making sure stay out of the landfill with these construction projects. But we're also going in the classroom. So this is actually Mandy here. She's giving a presentation in a kindergarten class for their garbology science unit. So this is where they learn about reduce, reuse, recycle, and composting in kindergarten science. It's part of our state standards to learn about human impact on the environment and what we can do to help. So we are lucky enough to go out and help engage in that topic and give presentations to our kindergarten classrooms across the district. And we love getting out and engaging students, and it really always blows us away how much they know and how excited they are about helping. Another fun project we've had come up more recently in this year is the Food Waste Warrior Grant that we received. So this is looking at how we reduce the amount of food that gets wasted. So we've been focusing on cafeterias, and this for LPS showed up in a couple different ways. And it's not just food waste, it's food-related waste. So we received this grant for our 5 high schools that were not yet using metal cutlery or metal silverware in their cafeteria. We had one high school, East was leading the way. Their students had already signed signed up for doing metal cutlery several years ago and pushed that effort, and we knew we wanted to get the rest of the high schools on board. Our elementary and middle school already use this reusable metal silverware, but we had some work to do at the high schools. And I'm happy to say that as of this week, we just did our last high school, so now all of our buildings across the district, all of our standard cafeterias are using reusable metal silverware instead of single-use plastic cutlery. So that's really cutting down on waste that's generated each day. And also with that is focusing on food share tables. So we collaborated with our nutrition services department and the health department to make sure we had the right signage and communication about what is acceptable to be shared so that food can be eaten before it's composted. We'd rather have food be eaten than end up in the compost bin. I don't want people just throwing things in there to get it composted. So we are really working on how can we share and get the food eaten, get it to people who want it, who need it, can it be donated somewhere? So that's been another effort, and we've really appreciated the partnership with the high schools on that. So moving a little bit further back from waste and bigger pictures, just how do we create green schools? And this is a framework that we've developed over the years to try to tackle that because we are a very small department and we're a very large organization. How can we help each school with what they're interested in, what they're hoping to do to make a difference? So a big part of that is designating a sustainability champion at each school. So this is a volunteer position. It could be a couple people, it could be a team of people who are interested in these topics. Maybe depending on what their position is and what they teach, they're already seeing curriculum connections. So this is someone that we as a sustainability team see as our conduit kind of for all of the materials and resources, and they know the culture at their building. They know the staff members and who might want to help with which piece. They know what their students are excited about. So that's who we rely on as this network of sustainability champions, and that's who we try to support most. And we're not just sending them off running without help. We've created this framework of the Green Schools Recognition Program. So this program has a long list of activities and ideas and resources and community partners that are doing something related to sustainability. It might be a water activity, energy, transportation, waste. It could be for a club, it could be for a whole grade level, it could be a school-wide initiative, it could be a parent night initiative. So there's all different types of ideas on there that they can choose from and then report that to us, let us know what they've been doing so we can recognize them and also, depending on how many activities they complete, give them a small amount of sustainability funding. So that could go to that club or to that class who really led the way on those efforts. They can keep building on those efforts year to year. And we hope that the efforts and the enthusiasm doesn't just rest on the shoulders of one sustainability champion. We hope that there is a development of a green team, and that could look a lot of different ways. It could be a student environmental club or eco club, or what's shown in the picture here is the Nature Club at Southeast High School. They had a plant sale for Earth Week last year. There's in the upper right there, that's the Climate Champions Club that actually Mandy and I got to help run at Saratoga with their after-school program last year, which was really fun. So this could turn up a lot of different ways, but we really do hope that it branches out to be a team effort, to be supported by many different individuals. Could be parents, custodians play a huge role in what we're doing, especially on the waste management side. So there's a lot of different people involved with these efforts who can help support them. And then going back in a little bit on one of our topics is gardens and outdoor learning. So this is something we saw a huge increase in the last few years, but there's also been some great examples for decades, really, with gardens in our district. This is one example at Lincoln High. They just built this garden last year, and this is actually a wellness garden they developed in partnership with their Indigenous Club. That's where this inspiration came from, and the after-school program was involved as well, and community partners supported, brought in supplies and funding. So this is a new garden. And we try to help just support them of what do you need, who are the community partners that can connect with you, what training do you need. And we have some really phenomenal community partners here in Lincoln. We have Community Crops, we have Nebraska Forest Service representatives based here, Game and Parks. There's so much education, curriculum, training that we are gathering from those community partners to help, because there's a lot of people also interested in supporting these efforts at the schools. This was another great partnership that we had last year. So at the Career Academy, they have an FFA chapter, and their project last year was designing and building raised beds. So they wanted to partner up with some LPS schools and have these high school age students helping other schools build raised beds as part of their project. So we partnered them up with 2 of our middle schools and an elementary school, and you had older students teaching younger students operating power tools, building raised beds, and it was a really great experience for everyone. And some of those went to existing gardens that just wanted to expand or refresh what they had, or in the case of Saratoga, that's what helped them build their first raised beds, and they started their garden with that. So we're really seeing a variety. We have about 25 gardens. Some are smaller, some are more engaged, but we have about 25 gardens and outdoor learning spaces, and we're always looking to continue to have more, and how can we support the existing ones as well. So because of that, we have started this model of quarterly garden gatherings. So this is for anyone who supports school gardens. You could be a parent, a CLC coordinator, a staff member of the school, a neighbor, whoever is helping with the school gardens or interested in supporting them is welcome to attend these events. And we've had really successful ones this year. The photos here are from our first one last August at Beatty Elementary. They have a master gardener, Karen, who's fantastic and has supported that garden. It's, I think, almost 20 years old at this point. It's gone through a lot of updates. And then next to Karen in that picture in the big group is their sustainability champion, Lee Dreyer. So he has also been instrumental in helping coordinate with staff, with families, to keep those efforts incorporated into curriculum during the school day, but then also family nights and other activities. So they were a great model for us to come and tour at one of those events. Then when things got a little colder, we went over to the bay and toured the freight farm, which was really cool. If you've not seen the freight farm over there, you need to schedule a tour because it's amazing to see what they're doing. And that was a really great example of large-scale gardening, hydroponics, and then talking about tower gardens and how you could do this on a smaller, more manageable scale at your school level or in the classroom level. So we had great turnout there, great engagement, and that's a great way to keep students excited about gardening through the winter and then be ready to go in spring. So we've had a lot of garden support, which is talking more about the grounds. We've talked a little bit about facilities and what's going on inside of our buildings. And again, dialing it back out to this concept of school campus as a teaching tool. So this is something we've been learning from other school districts, seeing across the country, and something we really are just piecing together existing efforts here in LPS. So what that means to use the school campus as a teaching tool is kind of looking at these 4 factors here. So campus design. That's looking at all of the different sustainability features of your school grounds and building, both the visible and the behind the scenes. So a lot of people may not realize that there's a geothermal well field and ground source heat pumps in their building because they're not exactly in the middle of the hallway. So there's invisible pieces, kind of behind the scene pieces that we're trying to communicate better about, give more resources. LED lighting, there's also the visible, like gardens, there's building automation systems that are helping with energy efficiency. There's all sorts of different features. No matter what school you're at, there's something going on. And there could be even more features than that, depending on what school you're at. So looking at all of those, and then connecting that to a culture of sustainability so that no matter what school you walk into, you're aware that they're interested, that they support these topics, that they care about the environment and being responsible stewards of our environment. And that's really for everyone to engage in, whether you're a visitor, a student, a staff member, that could involve everyone. And then dialing it in a little further would be knowledge or increasing that sustainability literacy. So you're using those tools from the campus resources, you're using the excitement of everyone getting engaged, and what's going on with curriculum, and what's going on with after-school programs. How can we dive into this and become a little bit more knowledgeable about these issues and what we can do to help? And then going further from that is leadership. So how are we providing opportunities for our students and our staff to really take the lead and feel that they're taking action and making a difference? Because we do see that spark in students for sure, that they want to do something. They're ready to go, they have the knowledge, they have the skills, they can help out with this on a day-to-day basis or doing bigger coordinated projects, and we want to provide those opportunities for them. So I'm going to talk about 2 examples here from both a new school perspective and an existing school perspective. So Northwest High School opening this fall. And so this is obviously a new school perspective. We talked a lot about sustainability in the design of this campus and of this building. And I will say that not all of these features listed on this grand vision have been funded yet. This is a vision, and we're hoping to see it build and grow over years. But with all of that is some great opportunities to make sure as staff come to this building, as students come to this building, as community members come to this building, Are they aware of what went into the thought process and the design? Do they know that's bioretention and not just random plants over there and design over there? Do they know these are native plant species so we could be efficient with water and managing our grounds? Are they aware that there's a rooftop garden that is only accessible from some of the classrooms so you wouldn't see it from the ground? Are they aware of that, again, that geothermal well field system and the energy efficiency features that went into this building? All of those different things, we want to make sure if you come to this school, you are aware of what intention went into it and how we're being responsible with our resources. And the opportunities to connect that to curriculum, of course, too. And I just have to show the renderings. You know, it's not quite done yet, but we do have a rooftop garden going into this school site, and we'll be at Standing Bear as well, I should mention. So there's some great opportunities, some new exciting opportunities. We've never had a rooftop garden before to learn here. And I'm really excited about students becoming leaders in this area and going to the younger schools, younger students, and taking what they've learned and sharing it with them. That's a really great model, especially with school gardens. So we can see all these different opportunities at a new school, but there's plenty to do at existing schools as well, especially when we start bringing in great community partners. So I know actually at the last Learning Lunch, we heard about some of our focus programs that are in development or already existing. And the FUSE program, I was fortunate to go tag along with some teachers that did some training and engagement, professional development over the summer. And that program is based at Northeast, so I was with Northeast teachers, and we got to tour some great things at UNL. They have solar panels. We went up into a mechanical room. We were learning about how to tie this into a variety of curriculum areas. It's not just science. There's a lot of curriculum areas where you can connect this. And I was there chiming in with ideas of, hey, do you guys want to see the utility bills? Because that doesn't go to the school. You think about your energy consumption at home, maybe because you're getting the bill, you're thinking about the cost, you're seeing if it goes up and down. That's different at a school. They don't worry about that because we don't want them to worry about it, but it is a resource that they could use to engage in these topics and think about, oh, what does that mean? Or why is it increasing here and decreasing this time of year? What's going on there with our resource consumption? So there's great ways to just incorporate this into any existing school facility and pull it into curriculum, pull it into student engagement and leadership. And we do actually have several building performance tools at our disposal that we are putting that utility bill information into, as well as other data that we already collect as a school district. So I'm going to give a couple examples here, but building performance is really just looking at what's really going on. So you can design that great high school or that great elementary school or any building to be super efficient, to be super sustainable. And then you put people in it. And then you have to make sure it's still operating the way you intended. And it's being used the way you thought it was going to. So that's where building performance comes in and monitoring that to see what's really going on. Is it working? Is it something broken that needs to be fixed or maintained? So something we use is called Energy Star Portfolio Manager. This is a free resource, and we put all of our utility information in there. This screenshot here is from Irving Middle School, which actually just earned their Energy Star certification for being a really energy efficient school. And we can see, actually, this I like this example of Irving because you can see when they had their IAQ project and when their energy consumption and impact on the environment dramatically decreased because of facility updates. Okay, great. We know they're using less energy. How do we tie that into curriculum? How do we engage students and staff so they're aware about this really cool thing that happened and how they have been able to reduce their impact on the environment because of these facility updates? So these are all great ways to incorporate into curriculum and student engagement and staff engagement really too. ARC is another tool that we have available to us that's free to use, building performance tool, and it touches on waste, energy, water, but then we are also pulling in some other topics that are certainly part of sustainability. Transportation. So how are people getting to and from our school buildings? Are they traveling alone in a car? Are they walking? Are they biking? Are they carpooling? So there's actually a survey question that's part of that tool where we can start to think more about that. And then the other category there is human experience. So this is where we incorporate two pieces. One is a survey question, which our environmental department has been helping us distribute, just asking about air quality in the school. Have you noticed anything, or is it all great? Hopefully you haven't noticed anything, because you don't really think about that stuff if it's going well. But then also real air quality data that is collected by our environmental team, and also the sustainability team has been helping with that too. So we have data collections going with the people perspective of it, and that helps us generate an ARC score. So this is just another way we can be monitoring and pulling all of these pieces together to make a lesson with it, make a curriculum or club engagement with it. And I haven't talked about transportation yet, and that's definitely a big topic, big piece of sustainability, thinking about emissions and how we can make a difference. So we were really excited to receive some grant funding from NDEE and from LES to help us purchase and install 7 EV charging stations. So we put them at each of the existing high school sites and the operations facility. And it was really great. You can see here, these are the number of charging sessions over 2021. So we kept seeing an increase, and people were coming out, moving out and about again in the community, and a lot of them were electric vehicles apparently. So this was really exciting for us to work with the community, learn from LES and what they're doing with their charging stations and vehicles too, and it's really led to this collaboration with other organizations in Lincoln. So we're working with the city, we're collaborating with LES, with UNL, talking about charging infrastructure and what that looks like, but also we own fleet vehicles. We operate our own vehicles as LPS, and so do these other entities. So we have some really exciting updates coming soon about that collaboration and what we've been working on together. But we're already collecting data and looking at our charging stations that we have at those existing sites. So looking forward, we do a lot, and that doesn't incorporate all of the many amazing community partners and projects we've done over the years, but it's a start, but we're still looking forward of what should be our priorities going forward and what should be next. So I just put this out here as kind of considerations because we're always open to feedback as well. We want to hear, what do the schools want to do? What do students want to do? What do they think LPS should be focusing on more? So these are just questions. Do we set a goal of zero waste? Is our goal that every single school has an outdoor garden or classroom area? Or scaling kind of up further to structures for the district. So what's going on with curriculum and those connections? And there are tons of sustainability connections in curriculum already, but are we piecing them together and realizing the cross-curricular connections as well? And tons going on, opportunities with after-school programs. They've been huge advocates of this and supporters in using the resources we've provided. So we really appreciate those after-school programs engaging in these topics too. What about a district sustainability task force or committee or green team, just like we're trying to do at the school level? Do we do that as an organization as well? We're seeing lots of examples of that at other school districts. And then we've seen examples of this in the community for sure. Recently, the city released their climate action plan. UNL released their sustainability master plan. LES has set their decarbonization goal. So do we need to establish our own goals and strategies, pulling in all the different departments and stakeholders? Is that where we should focus next before we dive into any of these specific topic areas? So those are all just considerations. And again, we are always open to feedback and what should we be doing next? Because we are a large organization and large part of the community. So I'm going to leave it off before we go to questions with just some ways, if this excites you, if you want to know how you can do more, here's some options for how you can do more with this or engage with our sustainability programs. So the first thing I want to point out is finding out if there's a school that you are connected with or want to support that school, find out if they have a sustainability champion designated or maybe a couple champions designated, find out who they are, and then reach out to them and say, hey, I want to support this. What are you already working on, or what do you wish you could work on? You just don't have capacity and need support. That would be a great way to engage with the schools. Find out what they're interested in having you help with. And if they don't have a sustainability champion, maybe that's a conversation we have with the school of, well, would someone want to do it if they knew they had support from someone else? Or maybe there's someone in that school who didn't realize this is something they could engage in. And then this is very timely, so coming up next month is Earth Day on April 22nd. So that's why I was really excited to be here to speak today so we could talk about Earth Day. We have resources for that, and we hope schools will engage, whether it's on the 22nd or any time during the month of April or all month long, really. There's no wrong way to celebrate Earth Day. So we've created these bingo activity cards that are broken down by age level. So you can touch on things with water or waste or energy. There's a bunch of different topics and options there for you to complete your bingo card and celebrate Earth Day. And we also just have other great examples. I mentioned that Nature Club, they did a week-long Earth Week celebration with their plant sale and a litter cleanup. Students are really leading the way on a lot of this as well. They have great ideas, so no one has to use the bingo card, but it's there as a resource. Another way that anyone in the community could get involved is with our annual Cans for Books recycling drive. So anyone is welcome to recycle their aluminum cans at Green Quest Recycling and then donate the funds to a school library of their choice. So April's also National School Library Month, and so we team up with our library department, and we have this recycling drive every year, and we raise money for our school libraries and recycle aluminum cans. We're helping the environment, helping our libraries. It's a great partnership that we've had over the years. And then finally, supporting school gardens. It's spring, people are thinking, looking forward. It's a little windy out there today, but people are looking forward to spring and summer, and supporting those school gardens when they really need the most support is over summer as well. So if you have a school you're connected to, find out, do they have a garden? Do they need help? Do they need volunteers, resources? Or the photo I'm showing here is actually from a training we did yesterday with Community Crops, where we learned about seed starting, and they provided seed starting kits, which is great. There was a lot of CLC and after school program folks there to learn about that and bring back those resources to their school. Or if they don't have a garden, find out if there's interest. How could you support that? Do we need to find out more? Do they want to start small and grow something at that school? So that's another great way to get involved, especially this time of year. Okay, that is where I will leave it off. I will mention we have our 2021 Sustainability Annual Report will be coming out in April as well, so if you want to learn more, we'll be sharing even more details in that report when it's available. But I also have our contact information here and our website where we have even more information about our programs. But I know we've probably got some questions.
We do. So if you are joining us virtually and you have questions, just a reminder, you can put it in the Q&A if you're joining us via Zoom, or you can put it in the Facebook chat. And so our first question that came in was on Zoom from Sue, wants to know, does the sustainability team have any involvement with the outdoor classrooms that are at some schools?
Yes, so I talked a little bit about that, but yes, the sustainability team is trying to be a connector of resources, of the experts out there. I personally am not a gardening expert. I'm learning alongside these people, but I am very excited. Our team is very excited to keep supporting outdoor classrooms. We want to, not just those raised beds, which you might think of with a traditional school garden, but just how are we getting students outside, connecting with nature, getting that fresh air, getting to enjoy that, because that's really an important connection for fostering environmental stewardship, of course, is being outside. So we support that. We work on the facility side to try to get that approval and thinking long-term, who's going to maintain this, how will it be successful long-term. So yeah, that's certainly a role we play, as well as connecting with those many amazing community partners that we have.
All right, our next question is from Facebook, from Shanika. Has anyone talked to the kids to get their opinion, or have you engaged the kids in this?
Yes, so that's not a huge role that our department plays. It's more at that school level. So the sustainability champion might be running that environmental club, and they are listening to those students and saying, what do you want to work on? What do you want to do this? Do you want to work on this project? What do you want to learn more about? So that's where we've really seen the student feedback. But I also, just today, we are starting to see some results coming in. So the Upward Bound program, which is a program through UNL as a partner, they actually have 3 different high schools that are doing a student-developed sustainability survey. It started last week, and I think 2 of them are going out next week, and they're getting hundreds of responses from LPS students, peer-to-peer. It was created by high school students, and they wanted to find out from their peers, do you care about this? Do you feel you know how to get engaged? All sorts of amazing questions, and like I said, already getting hundreds of survey responses. So we have students not only being asked their opinion, they're being asked by fellow students, which is an amazing project, and we were really happy to just really be an observer of that project and support them.
So that kind of leads into the next question we got over Zoom. Can you talk more about the sustainability survey questions? Who creates the surveys? How often do the surveys go out, and who answers the questions?
Yeah, so they might be talking about a couple different things with that. So I mentioned that survey through ARC, which is a building performance tool. So that tool specifically has just a 2-question survey, and that has traditionally been coming through our environmental department. I say traditionally, we've only been using the tool for a couple of years, and it's obviously been a little wild of a couple of years for distributing surveys. But they are distributing that out because they're really the ones who are going to tackle any air quality issues that do come up. That was our number one thing with distributing that survey, is they don't want to send it out unless they are ready and prepared and have capacity to respond to anything that needs to be addressed. And I really appreciate that they don't want to just send out surveys. So that is how we've been doing that, and it does ask that transportation question. We've also used the ARC tool in some instances, so I'll use Mickle Middle School as a great example. They had a leadership class that actually took on the ARC tool, and they distributed the surveys to their peers. They did a presentation to every single class and had every single student respond to the survey. So we've had both a mix of student and staff responses and a couple different options there. So that's with the ARC survey, and we're still working on that in terms of how it will be regularly distributed and what time of year it might be distributed, because that can play a factor too. But in terms of those other student surveys, that was really a student-led project. I expressed that we would love to replicate their survey and maybe distribute it to other schools that don't have that Upward Bound program, and those students that led that. And they seemed really in support of, yes, let's do this pilot of these 3 schools, and then maybe this becomes a survey that gets distributed to all students.
Okay, we have another question from Facebook. This one's from Christine. Christine would love to see the info on the manufacturing process of the electric cars that we would be utilizing. I'm guessing about the fleet when we talked about the fleet. Is that a process that is considered sustainable? Is there a link to this information?
Yes, so we have not purchased any electric vehicles yet in terms of LPS. I talked about that collaboration. We're learning from others. So LES is an obvious organization that spends a lot of time on that and has electric vehicles, kind of leading the way, learning with that. But the city also has some of those vehicles. UNL already has some of those vehicles. So that's been a great collaboration for us to learn from them of what are the right vehicles to get, what are their uses, what lessons have you already learned. LES has been doing this for a while. They've already learned a lot of lessons that we can benefit from. So it's something we're just learning about. I don't have manufacturing information to share just yet because we're still doing all of that analysis. But like I said, any actions that move forward on that, we're gonna be making announcements. So hopefully we'll have more information and links to that on our website very soon.
All right. We have another question from Shanika on Facebook, and I'm not sure this is quite tied to sustainability, so I'm going to ask it. I'm going to answer from a district perspective, but we'll see if it has a tie to sustainability. Shanika is asking, what about learning how to apply for jobs? Is that something the school is offering also? So I can answer that we have that in our curriculum. That is something we teach through Take Charge class. It's a required class for all high school juniors. We teach kids how to apply for jobs, how to do resumes, all those life skills. Is there something through sustainability where you're teaching kids how to apply for jobs?
Yeah, so green careers and sustainability related careers is a vastly, quickly growing industry. So it's definitely something that we're talking about and trying to incorporate into curriculum. A partnership that I didn't go into detail on that we actually spent a lot of time cultivating is with the UNL Environmental Studies program and other UNL programs. So that's where we're actually doing internship programs, and we're talking more about what does it mean to support these and what are careers you might want to go into related to sustainability. And we've seen LPS students coming through that, but there's certainly more we could be doing on the green career side of things. The internship program has traditionally been higher education students who are looking for that internship credit. But we've talked a little bit with high school clubs, those clubs that exist at some of the high schools around environmental sustainability. That's a place where we've shared those resources before or come in and talk about our own career paths. Mandy and I have both done that. And we've had other members of our team over the years go in and talk about how did we end up in this role? What excited us about a career in sustainability? What do we recommend if you want to explore these careers further or think about that further? So we have some, I wouldn't say it's a formal structure maybe.
Okay. Another question from Anne on Zoom. She's asking, can you go over again the most recent sustainability projects and how LPS's environmental efforts have changed over the past year or so?
Yeah, so most recent, in case you haven't gathered, my job is different, not just day to day, but minute to minute sometimes. So if I have to just list the most recent, some exciting things going on, I would say a recent development is those quarterly garden gatherings and really structuring how we support that and bringing the resources to the people who want to help that. That Food Waste Warrior grant was a recent grant that we received that we've only ever received one time. That's not an annual grant, so that's been a recent effort. But the NDEE grant funding for expanding the whole school composting, so going outside the cafeteria, that was funded within the last year. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of what else would I consider recent, but how it's developed over the year, I guess that's easier for me to answer. So this all started as a recycling coordinator position. This was a part-time recycling coordinator position that was actually grant funded and through the foundation back in the 90s. And it was all about purchasing recycling containers and starting at the schools that were interested in getting recycling and kind of done group by group, similar to how we did our compost program more recently. And it was all about waste and recycling. And it's only been in the last 8 years that we've really shifted from being recycling program focused to sustainability and broadening that to incorporate all of these other topics because they are all interconnected. There's not one solution to this. It's a complex issue and it's complex solutions, and all of these different departments, all of these different people need to be involved, want to be involved because they have a role to play. So that's really been the most dramatic difference and simple answer, I suppose, to how it's changed over the years. I was treating recent as just within the last year. That would probably just take me even longer to explain, so we'll leave it. Some of those that I mentioned today are most recent.
All right, thank you. Well, that is all the time we have for today. I want to thank Brittany for joining us to share the amazing things that's going on across our district. I want to thank our virtual audience for joining us and asking really thoughtful and engaging questions. We are going to do this again next month. Our next learning lunch will be Wednesday, April 20th, and I think it's to lead up to that whole Earth Day and the STEAM Fest and the Science Fair, which I know Brittany helps us every year with that. Next month's topic is going to be, how does science really work? Dogs and turnips. And I hear that's kind of interactive, so please join us next month, April 20th at noon. And with that, we thank you for joining us.